Shout out to Edwin Van, watching from Netherlands. Thank you. Now let the story begin. The sound of shattering clay echoed through the compound as Emeka's foot connected with Ngozi's carefully crafted water pot. Pieces scattered across the dirt floor like broken dreams. Ngozi stood frozen, her hands trembling, watching months of work destroyed in seconds.
You think you can leave this house without my permission? You think you're special because you can make a few pots?
That same voice had been a warm honey in the village square, consoling a widow who had lost her goat. The elders had nodded approvingly as Emeka promised to replace it from his own herd. They called him blessed. They called him a gift to Umuora village. If only they could see him now. 6 months had passed since the wedding that everyone said was touched by the ancestors themselves. The whole village had celebrated for 3 days when Emeka, the most eligible man in Umuora, chose Ngozi as his bride. Women had surrounded her, their voices high with excitement and envy. "Ah, Ngozi, you don't know how fortunate you are," old Mama Ego had said, adjusting Ngozi's coral beads. "Emeka is not just any man. He feeds the hungry. He speaks wisdom at the council meetings. And see how handsome he is." Her friend Adaizi had squeezed her hand. "My sister, your life will be sweet. A good man like that, you will want for nothing." Ngozi had smiled that day, her heart full of hope. Emeka had been attentive during their courtship, bringing her mother gifts, speaking respectfully to her father, making her laugh with clever stories. She had thought herself blessed indeed. The first night in their new home had shattered that illusion, like the pot now scattered at her feet. "Listen carefully, wife," Emeka had said, his wedding smile evaporating the moment they were alone. "What people see outside these walls is my business. What happens inside is yours to keep silent about. You will not visit your family without asking me first. You will not laugh too loudly with other women. You will not make me look foolish. Do you understand?" Ngozi had been too shocked to respond. This cold stranger wearing her husband's face had seemed impossible, like a bad dream. But it wasn't a dream, it was her new reality. Now, standing among the broken pottery, Ngozi felt tears burn her eyes. She had only gone to the market to sell her wares, to contribute something to their household. Her pottery was known throughout the region for its beauty and strength. It was her gift, her pride. "I'm sorry," she whispered, though she didn't know what she was apologizing for. You thought. Emeka stepped closer, and she instinctively moved back. "You don't think, Ngozi. I think for both of us. That is how marriage works. Or did your mother fail to teach you that?" He turned and walked toward the door, then paused. When he looked back, his face had transformed completely. The hardness melted away, replaced by the gentle smile that made the whole village trust him. "I'm going to the square. Elder Okonkwo wants my advice on the land dispute." His voice was suddenly kind, as if the last 10 minutes had never happened. "Clean this mess before I return. And, Ngozi, when people ask how you are, you smile and tell them your husband treats you like a queen, because he does, doesn't he?" It wasn't a question. After he left, Ngozi collapsed among the broken pieces and wept. How could the same man who had just destroyed her work be the one the village celebrated? How could those cold eyes be the same ones that softened with concern when listening to others' problems? She thought about telling someone, but who would believe her? Just last week, she had tried to confide in her friend Adaz. "He gets so angry," Ngozi had begun carefully. "Sometimes All men get angry, Ngozi," Adaz had interrupted, laughing. "My husband shouts too, but you're Emeka. He's so patient, so good. You're worrying over nothing. Maybe you're not used to marriage yet." Ngozi hadn't tried again. The weeks turned into months, and the pattern became clear. Outside their home, Emeka was the village hero. He settled disputes with wisdom that made the elders nod in approval. He organized help for struggling families. During the last festival, he had personally ensured that every child received a portion of meat, even though it cost him dearly. "See how Emeka cares for our community," people would say. "His parents raised him well. The ancestors smile on him." But inside their compound, he was someone else entirely. He controlled everything: where Ngozi went, whom she spoke to, how she spent her time. Her pottery business died because he rarely let her go to market. When her mother fell sick, she had to beg for 3 days before he allowed her to visit. "You'll go for 2 hours, not a moment more," he had said. "And if anyone asks why you don't visit often, you'll tell them you're busy being a good wife, won't you?" The worst part wasn't the control or even the occasional violence. It was the isolation. Emeka had carefully, systematically cut her off from everyone who might support her. He never forbade her outright from seeing family or friends. That would look suspicious. Instead, he made it so difficult, so exhausting, that eventually Ngozi stopped trying. "Your sister is coming to visit. Of course, invite her. But you know, I heard her husband gambles. We shouldn't associate with people like that." "Market day again? Well, if you must go, but remember that woman who was attacked on the road last month. It's dangerous for you to be out alone. Perhaps it's safer to stay home." Each reason sounded logical, even protective, but together they formed a cage. One morning, 4 months into the marriage, Ngozi woke to find a bruise blooming purple on her arm where Emeka had grabbed her the night before. She had laughed at something another man said during a community gathering. It hadn't been flirtatious, just politeness. But Emeka's fingers had dug into her flesh on the walk home. "You want to embarrass me? Make me look like I can't control my own wife?" "I was just being friendly." "Friendly?" His laugh had been bitter. "You were practically throwing yourself at him. Everyone saw it." No one had seen anything because there was nothing to see. But Emeka's reality was the only one that mattered in their home. Ngozi stared at the bruise and made a decision. She would go to the elders. They were wise, respected. They would listen. They would help. That afternoon, she gathered her courage and walked to the meeting tree where the elders often gathered. Elder Okonkwo, Elder Chibuzo, and Elder Ize were discussing village matters when she approached. "Ngozi, daughter of Okoro," Elder Okonkwo greeted her warmly. "What brings you here? Is everything well?" Her heart pounded. "Elders, I seek your counsel. I need to speak about my marriage." The 3 men exchanged glances. Elder Chibuzo gestured for her to continue. "My husband, Emeka." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "He is not the man everyone believes him to be. In our home, he is different. He hurts me. He controls everything I do. Wait! Elder Okonkwo held up his hand, his face showing confusion. "Are you speaking of Emeka? Our Emeka, the man who donated 30 yams to the widows last harvest?" "Yes, but the same Emeka who settled the Okoli family dispute when they were about to tear each other apart?" Elder Easy asked, his tone skeptical. "I know what he does in public," Ngozi said, her voice shaking. "But in private, he is cruel. Look," she pulled up her sleeve to show the bruise. Elder Chibuzo barely glanced at it. "A bruise? Daughter, marriage is not always easy. Sometimes a man must be firm to maintain order in his household. This is the way of things." "But he destroyed all my pottery. He won't let me see my family. Emeka provides for you, doesn't he?" Elder Okonkwo's voice was gentle but dismissive. "You have food, shelter, a good home. Perhaps you're not yet accustomed to marriage. A wife must learn to submit, to support her husband's authority." "You don't understand." "We understand perfectly," Elder Ize said firmly. "Emeka is one of the finest young men this village has produced. If there are problems in your marriage, perhaps you should look inward, daughter. Ask yourself what you might be doing to provoke his correction." Ngozi felt something break inside her. They didn't believe her. Worse, they were blaming her. "Go home," Elder Okonkwo said, not unkindly. Be grateful for the good man you've married. Many women would gladly trade places with you. She walked away in a daze. If the elders wouldn't help her, who would? Before long, if you're enjoying this story, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more African folk tales, and let us know in the comments what you think will happen to Ngozi. Your support means everything to us. Now, let's continue. Days blurred into weeks. Ngozi moved through her life like a ghost, going through the motions of being a good wife while dying inside. She stopped trying to leave the compound unless absolutely necessary. She stopped making pottery. What was the point when Emeka would only destroy it? She stopped hoping, but someone was watching. Mama Adana, the oldest woman in Umuora, had eyes that missed nothing. She had lived through 80 rainy seasons and learned to see beyond the masks people wore. At the market one morning, she noticed Ngozi moving slowly, wincing slightly with each step, wearing a long-sleeved dress despite the heat. "Ngozi, my child," Mama Adana approached her carefully. "You look tired. Are you well?" "I'm fine, Mama." The lie came automatically now. But Mama Adana saw the hollowness in her eyes, the way she held her body protectively, the absence of light that should shine in a young bride's face. She saw what others refused to see because they were too dazzled by Emeka's public goodness. "Come with me," Mama Adana said softly, taking Ngozi's hand. They walked to a quiet corner near the stream, away from listening ears. There, something in the old woman's kind face broke through Ngozi's defenses. The whole story poured out: the control, the cruelty, the destruction, the violence, the elders' dismissal, the desperate loneliness. Mama Adana listened without interrupting, her weathered face growing more troubled with each word. When Ngozi finished, tears streaming down her cheeks, the old woman pulled her into an embrace. "I believe you, daughter," she whispered. "I believe every word. Those 4 words, 'I believe you,' were like water to someone dying of thirst." Ngozi sobbed against the old woman's shoulder, releasing months of held-back pain. "But what can I do?" Ngozi finally asked. "No one else will believe me. They all love him. They all think he's perfect." Mama Adana's eyes glinted with something fierce. "The ancestors do not sleep, child. Truth buried in darkness will rise in the light. Leave this to me." That night, Mama Adana went to the ancient shrine at the edge of the village. She burned offerings and spoke to the ancestors, asking for their guidance. As the smoke rose into the night sky, she felt their presence, heard their whispers on the wind. In the morning, she knew what must be done. The New Yam Festival was approaching, the most important celebration in Umuora. It was when the village gave thanks for the harvest and honored their most virtuous citizens. Mama Adana went to the elders with a proposal. "We should honor Emeka at this year's festival," she said. "Let him wear the mask of truth during the ceremony. It's an ancient honor reserved for our most worthy." The elders loved the idea. Of course Emeka should be honored. Had any young man done more for the community? The mask of truth was an artifact passed down through generations, worn only during the most sacred ceremonies. According to legend, it revealed the true nature of whoever wore it, showing the ancestors' judgment of their character. Most people considered this symbolic rather than literal, a ceremonial tradition, nothing more. But Mama Adana knew better. She knew the old ways, the old powers that still lived in sacred objects. She spent 3 nights alone with the mask, calling upon the ancestors, upon the spirits of truth and justice. She invoked Anansi, the trickster, whose cunning always revealed what was hidden. She poured libations and spoke ancient words that few remembered anymore. When she was done, the mask hummed with power. It would show not symbols or suggestions, but vivid truth that no one could deny. Emeka was delighted when told of the honor. "Of course I'll wear it," he said, his voice humble but his eyes gleaming with pride. "I'm honored that the elders think me worthy." At home, he boasted to Ngozi. See? The whole village recognizes my value. They'll honor me at the festival. Me, not your father, not the other men. Me, because I am exceptional. Ngozi said nothing, but in her heart, a tiny flame of hope flickered. Mama Adana had told her to trust, to wait, to have faith that truth would prevail. The day of the New Yam Festival arrived bright and clear. The entire village gathered in the square, dressed in their finest clothes. Drums thundered, dancers whirled, children laughed. The air smelled of roasted yam and palm wine. Emeka stood at the centre, basking in the attention. He had rehearsed his humble acceptance speech, carefully crafted to make him seem worthy yet modest. Mama Adana approached, carrying the mask of truth. It was beautiful, carved from ancient Iroko wood, decorated with cowries and intricate patterns. When she placed it in Emeka's hands, she locked eyes with Ngozi across the crowd. A silent message passed between them. Justice comes. This mask has been worn by our greatest ancestors, Mama Adana announced to the crowd. Today we honor Emeka, son of Obi, for his virtue, his wisdom, his goodness to our community. Let the ancestors see his true heart and bless him accordingly. Emeka lifted the mask to his face. The moment it touched his skin, everything changed. The mask began to glow with an eerie light. Emeka tried to pull it away, but it stuck fast to his face. Then, like a nightmare come to life, images projected into the air above him. Vivid, undeniable, visible to every single person in the square. They saw Emeka's face twisted with rage as he smashed Ngozi's pottery. They heard his cruel words echoing through the air. "You're worthless, stupid. You're lucky I even married you." They watched him grab Ngozi's arm, saw the bruises bloom under his fingers. They witnessed him isolating her, controlling her, breaking her spirit piece by piece. Scene after scene played out, the private monster behind closed doors, the truth of who Emeka really was when no one was watching. The crowd gasped. Women covered their mouths in horror. Men stood frozen in shock. Children began to cry at the violence displayed before them. Emeka finally ripped the mask from his face, his own features contorted with panic and rage. "Lies!" he screamed. "Witchcraft! This is—" But he couldn't finish, because Ngozi stepped forward. Her voice rang clear across the suddenly silent square. "It's not lies. I tried to tell you. I tried to tell the elders. No one would listen. You all saw what you wanted to see, the good man, the generous man. You didn't see what he did to me when the doors closed and the visitors left." She pulled up her sleeves, showing the bruises. She let them see her broken spirit in her eyes, her trembling hands, her hollow cheeks. "I lived in a prison," she said, her voice breaking. "A prison everyone told me was paradise." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Adazi pushed through the crowd, tears streaming down her face. "Ngozi, I'm so sorry. You tried to tell me. I didn't listen. I didn't believe you." Other women began stepping forward. "I saw him once through a window," one admitted. "His face was so angry, but I told myself I must have been mistaken." "He threatened my daughter when she refused his marriage proposal," another said. "I thought she was exaggerating." The truth came pouring out. Pieces of Emeka's real character that people had noticed but dismissed, explained away, ignored because the public image was so compelling. Elder Okonkwo approached Ngozi, his face heavy with shame. "Daughter of Okoro, we failed you. We were blinded by what we wanted to believe. We owe you the deepest apology." Elder Chibuzo nodded. "We should have listened. We should have investigated. We chose comfort over truth." Emeka stood alone now, his mask of goodness shattered as completely as the pottery he had destroyed. He tried to speak, to defend himself, but what defense could stand against what everyone had witnessed? "You are banished from Umuora," Elder Okonkwo announced. "Pack your things and leave before sunset. Your name will be removed from our records. Your honors are stripped. You are no longer one of us." Emeka left that evening, his head down, his reputation destroyed. Ngozi watched him go and felt not triumph, but relief. The nightmare was over. The village rallied around her. They rebuilt her pottery workshop better than before. They made sure she had everything she needed. Most importantly, they listened. They believed. They changed. Mama Adana sat with Ngozi under the meeting tree as the sun set, painting the sky orange and gold. The ancestors were watching, the old woman said. They always are, but they work through us. We must be willing to see, to hear, to act. Ngozi squeezed her hand. Thank you, Mama. You saved my life. No, child. You saved yourself by being brave enough to speak truth even when no one wanted to hear it. I just helped that truth be seen. That night, the village created a new tradition. They called it the Night of Listening. Once each season, women could come forward to speak their truth, and the community vowed to listen with open hearts and minds, to believe, to investigate, to protect. The story of Emeka and Ngozi spread to neighbouring villages, carried on the lips of traders and travellers. It became a cautionary tale told to young and old alike. The elders added a new proverb to their wisdom. A beautiful basket may hold snakes within. Judge not by words in the marketplace, but by actions in the home. Ngozi's pottery business flourished. She became known not just for her beautiful work, but for her courage. Women from other villages came to her, seeking advice and support when their own marriages turned dark. She listened to each one, believing them, helping them find their way to safety and justice. Years later, sitting at her wheel shaping clay into something beautiful, Ngozi would think about that terrible time. The pain had been real, the scars remained, but so did something else, the knowledge that truth, no matter how long buried, will always find its way to light. The mask still hung in the village square, a reminder, a promise, a warning. Because the greatest deception is not the lie told in darkness, but the beautiful mask worn in daylight. And the greatest courage is not in fighting monsters, but in refusing to pretend they aren't there when everyone else wants to look away. The village of Umuora learned this lesson well. They never forgot, and they taught it to their children and their children's children, so that no more Ngozis would suffer alone, unheard, unbelieved. Because a good man's reputation should be built on consistent character, not carefully crafted deception. And a community's goodness is measured not by how it celebrates its heroes, but by how it protects its most vulnerable. This is the wisdom the ancestors whispered on the wind. This is the truth the mask revealed. This is the story that must never be forgotten. The end.